Morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I'm Professor Lei Tangxin from National Taiwan Online University. And I'm more than happy to be to serve as the moderator of this keynote speech. Especially our keynote speakers, my longtime good friend, Michael.H. Professor Wang earned his doctoral degree from Indiana University in the United States. And he has taught at both Indiana University and San Jose State University. He's a professor in the Department of Academic Training and Health at the National Taiwan Sport University. He has deeply involved in Taiwan's education of academic training. He also established the certification system for academic trainer and helped standardize the university curriculum for academic training. Currently, he serves as the CEO for the National Sports Science Center. He's dedicating to advance research and application of sports science to elevate athletic performance and the social value of sports. Let's welcome Professor Wang.
Thank you for the great introduction. Good morning, everybody. About 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, I was notified that I need to make a presentation here this morning to you. I honestly feel I had clueless what I'm going to say. I haven't done used English for presentation for quite a while, so English might get rusty here, so bear with me. I was hoping that all of you here can understand Mandarin Chinese, so that I don't need to use English for presentation now. The CEO of NVIDIA, Jason Horn, said a few weeks ago, said, if you're alive in the future without AI, your life will be miserable. Many AI enjoy AI. So if I use Mandarin Chinese, you people don't understand Mandarin Chinese and use AI as a translation. It's a technique, so I can use Chinese, but just to keep it. So today we're going to talk about the application of technology in sports, like Michael.H mentioned about me. I was in the area of sports medicine for basically all my life. Technology is very area for me. I know it, but I didn't know how to use it. Until about a year and a half ago, I was appointed as the CEO for our, the newly established Taiwan Institute of Sports Science. The chairman of our board gave me 2 directions. He said that in order to better serve or lead the country in sports technology and sports science, we need to do 2 things. One thing is getting involved, get technology involved into the application of sports science. Not the sports science alone to serve the athletes and coaches. Secondly, we need a very good, powerful database so that we can understand what happened for an individual athlete, the development of their physiological characteristics in order to technique or biologically. What happened during training? What happened after the period of training? What changes may have occurred? Ordinary coaches or regularly they judge the improvement by visual recognition of their own brain without calculations. To quantify those improvements, we need to have numbers. We need to have objective information to know that person, that individual has actually improved. So that gave me the strong impression I need to pull everything together to incorporate technology into sports science. So what I'm going to talk about today is what we do, what we try to do in our institute to organize, to reorganize, to communicate in different disciplines of sports science into an area where we can actually better serve our athletes. So bear with me if I don't explain that clearly, and you can raise your hands and have questions anytime you can stop. Okay? In sports science, those areas not included, not limited in this area, we all try to develop skills. We all try to develop strengths and conditioning. We all know that training needs a periodization. We also need to know the fatigue level of your training. And we also need to know the thinking of your individual, of your athletes. Without proper competition planning, if you compete every week, there's no way you can survive for 5 years. No way. Human body needs to rest. But how do you know that person or that athlete is properly rested and prepared for the next big stage of competition? How do you know? Mostly by experience. That's why we need to develop that system, that database to follow. And also, this regular thinking of we need to know the athletes. But with the involvement of technology, there are so many ways of knowing message. What happened during the match last year in the preparation of Paris Olympics? I was on several times even now legislative there. So what is the role of the institute during the preparation of the Paris Olympics? And one of the things they talk about is the so-called the information gathering or the analysis of your opponents. Knowing your opponents and get prepared for what the strengths and weaknesses of your opponents became one of the most important things we did last year. So match analysis become the key issues for us. After we analyze their opponents, right before the competition, because my athletes are being right now, our focus is not on here. Our focus is not the match, where one athlete may have competed against next group of competition. So we need to come up quickly. Quickly is the key. We need to come up quickly with the match analysis, come up with the strategy, and the information on the strengths and weaknesses from that individual athletes. Come up with a report, send it to parents, and coaches and players can prepare for it. There's how many people who fell asleep during the competition on players. Lots of sleepless night. And that's what we're trying to do. In order to transmit tremendous amount of information, the system of transmission become key. We cannot allow those information just scattering around somewhere. We need to create a system within our institute so that we can store it, we can transmit, we can also type in our influence on our coaches. So that's all involved in what we need to apply all the technology that are there to facilitate the whole process. So let me give you some examples of what we do. So, science domain has an future. Traditionally, we use physiology, psychology, but all those things we're used to. But let's think about sports technology. Certain sports domain, we need to use AI, we need to use IoT, we need to use the sensory information, the IMU. Some of the things that algorithms are using. We need to think about how those techniques or technology can be used, can be better utilized with our own operations. That's the main challenge today and in the near future. So, what we do here, we're going to say, once we're gaining this, we need to develop, we need to set up a nationalized athlete standards. I was asking a question. Where is our next Washington? Our only gold medal in winning. Where is our gold medalist in weightlifting in Taiwan? To be honest with you, I have no clue. Because we do not have the database. We do not have the athletes database to know, number one, where our athletes are. Two, where your current status of standing either in skills, technique, and even in physiological characteristics. That's why, with the help of our sports administration and also our National Sports Science and not Sports Science, our National Science and Technology Council, which is going to kick off a project this year. It's called National Sports Database Method and Platform. This is what we allow you to use channels. The next week, I want to think of solution to go over it again. The windows on devices. So in this system, we'll try to collect many data from different sources. That is not only for athletic sports, but also to use those database collect doing all those different system apps. So that we can generate more data to generate more valuable information for those that we can apply to health promotions. Using exercise to promote health status is my belief. Taking medicine may kill your illness, make you better, make you healthier, make you more functional, depends on proper exercise. That's my belief. You know something about 10 years ago with diabetes, and that person's management for diabetes is purely medical form. That means taking medicines, injections. 2 years later, that person will depend even more on medications. However, if that individual 10 years ago, the medicine for his diabetes is more of a proper dietitian, dietary, proper exercises. Believe me, 10 years from now, yes, or he or she has far less dependency on the medications. This is what happens. The evidence shows that way too. So, using the database can lead us and give us more information on how those exercises related to health to health. So, technology applied technology in sports science not only can be used in competitive sports, but also in the health promotion area. This is what we're trying to do in our institute. Number two, AI presence. Image recognition technique has improved tremendous. We can also work with different companies and also one of them is so-called Keynote. He has the most powerful AI system in recognizing the golf swing motions. And we use this primary system. We brought that person to this campus we started in Dr. Tom's lab. We use actually as a trial. That AI recognized that part as commercial. That AI does not recognize actual motion. So we need to feed, we need to teach, we need to educate this. So we need to collect a lot of information, a lot of image to teach, to coach the AI so that the AI can be used better in a sports setting. Okay, so developing the AI tracking system is also one of our interest areas that I would like to invite all the stratosphere developers. We as a very young institute with limited number of staff. I'm called for help from a greater area of Taiwan, all the scholars here in this audience here. If there is some ideas, please contact me to follow on. Okay? Right. Please contact us. We do need help, and we need to develop the system fast. In the process, take the preparation of Quran, for example. In the Quran competition, there is a competition called form competition, a group form, 3 individuals. I'll show you the form. I'll show you the video later. That is a very good example of how we apply the AI tracking system or the motion analysis and that motion analysis system to help the coaches to recognize the so-called synchronization of movement of 3 individual athletes during the motion of competitions. So that coaches can instantly and simultaneously coach and show where the areas rules. Okay? So again, continuous is to collect data. And currently, clearly in our own business, we are trying to create a system, an integrated system, so-called data middle platform. That means we have so many small systems collecting strengths. Now we have a system collecting visual muscle measurement data. We have a system called the basic conditioning information. We have a system collecting all the training intensive training load monitoring system. We need a system, a comprehensive system to pull out all the information from small systems for me. Because I have my information in all those different systems. We need a comprehensive system to pull my information from those individual small systems to the platform. And then we can reorganize it. Data scientists need to come up to help. In the middle platform, we need to reorganize this, and the coaches need to come help to create a new visual demonstration so that coaches can really understand what meanings those numbers are. That is quite a challenge to us. I just think we're all 8.5 years old for the public. I cannot run here, not even walk. So, like I said, I invite all people here to, if you have somebody here, just please contact me. We'll try to run. Because time doesn't have to be less. Enough. Next year, the Asian year is coming up. I have got lots of questions. Alright, so that's one thing. We also like to do this. We like to interact academic institutions like the National Sports University. Each university has exchange or has cooperation agreement with us. We also like to have cooperation with international institutions so that we can learn fast. Okay? And smart devices, and really, this area is always choice management. Our current chair is also the president of Singapore University, National Singapore University. They come with a very, very precise medical examination programs. They can use a CT one single slice of skin. The dosage of radiation is about 100 radio X-ray. Very small number of radiation, so that it can be analyzed for different muscle volumes and also the distribution of fat tissues within your own muscle mass. That's after a period of training, we try to reduce competition within a muscle. That is quite astonishing to me. And also, during the process of sort of next real measure, we also do blood. We analyze all the DNA reactions at different stages of physiological stress. So that we know how that person will adapt to training. So our training can be very specific and precise. Yet the coaches need to know we are not just measuring you. We need to transform those information back to coaches and athletes. So that we set up an individual talking sessions. So we recruit, we invite all different specialty of doctors and speak to them as coaches and explain to them what each individual comments of information mean to their body and what areas they can improve on. So this is an area where it's a combination of technology and medicine and also science too. But we need the basis of physiology and exercise physiology. Otherwise, we cannot explain, we cannot make proper suggestions to the coaches and athletes. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Right here, this is the daily support from our team to our national teams. In daily tasks, we need to monitor their water consumption because our institute or our national training center is located in California, very, very hot in summer. Dehydration becomes a very big issue to us for those outdoor sports. And also for those classes that are weight classes of sports. Right before the competition, they need to, as we all know, they need to cut some weights. And the best, not the best, but their usual way of not drinking yet training. Like dehydration, by the status of dehydration of your body, the training effectiveness gets lower. So we need to calculate the water loss of dehydration, the rate of dehydration during the training so that I have replenished, I have a program set up and told my colleagues I need to know that individual, the sequence and volume of water intake during the training. That's how specific I'm trying to do. We're not doing it, but that's what I'm trying to do. But how do I know when and how much water that individual needs to take? That's by close monitoring. Knowing those detailed information, there's no way we can do that. Okay, so, and there are also some other areas that we like to do. Right here, velocity-based training is one of the so-called hot topic in the strength development area. Now, fast area. Now, literally, but the object of weight how fast are you moving the object or that resistance? That needs to be recorded individually. That needs to be calculated. If that person moves too slow in that step, at the later stage of repetition, coaches need to think about, do I need to change the weight or do I need to change the repetition for the next step? That can be calculated. Okay? But if that change or that calculation, the suggestion after that calculation, is that effective? We don't know. So we keep tracking, keep recording of that person's progress so that we will know that individual's progress and to set it up. Back at the big calories. In the Western cooking, it's somehow much more, I would say, simplified. The steak, they just say it's easy to calculate. But knowing Taiwanese or Mandarin Chinese cuisine, the sauce, the sugar, the sauce, and also, there's no way AI can recognize by knowing the colors. No way. But calorie accumulation tremendously if you add 2 or 3 more tablespoons of sugar. That's also difficult. So, again, we have a program where we can easily recognize the plate where athletes pick their meals. And we start out in our own training center. Because the way our kitchen prepare our meals from the same ingredient that they are always the same thing. This vegetable, they always cook it this way. And we teach the AI to know once you recognize this is how they cook. So that's much easier, but when we go out to the market, then become a challenge. But at least when the athletes are in the training center, eating or taking their meals, we can somehow know what they eat. And by a different kind of training period, the nutrient needed for them may vary depending on the training periods. So that we can give them the proper recommendation or suggestions of how they take. And this area, recreational biking. In the market out there, there's so many cook out of you know your heart rate, you know your power output. There's so many things. And like I said, the nationalized sports database will try to collect all of those information to us. I would like to kick off a campaign next year because I really want to know by maintaining a certain level of intensity on biking, we can know the energy supply from that individual is mainly from the fat utilization. So burning fat becomes my challenge to you. I would like to lead those 5 fanatics. When they bike, I would suggest them to bike at the intensity where you burn your fat mostly. Fat becomes too much fat, too much fat for an individual when a person gets old becomes a health issue. And health is also a loss. So usually, excuse me. Yes, no problem. Yes.
So maybe you data control and YouTube, and maybe you tell us that one later slide. So you can share what your approach is generalization general just individualizing that AI or the tools you just mentioned, the tools like a database is just for generalization, but it's kind of that the individual layer is kind of different. It's a very small difference and very tiny difference can cause different research. So there wants to be individualization, which cannot be maybe it's not recognized by the AI system or just it means that this is the I just curious about what your investor for that is just general model, making a general model, or just individual model.
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. For general public, there's no way that I can be that precise. Because we collect data from the public, it's more of a generalization to understand dialogues. And we would like to use that, say, in fact, the person, when they enter their personal demographic information, they know their age, they know the gender, they know the height and weight. We go through there's a so-called, what is called, power meter. Now, when we power meter along with the hardware, we can calculate the effectiveness of your energy supply line. Knowing that principle, we can guide general public to use the calculations that we can quickly come up with. We can lead them into closely to where we want. There's no way. About 15 years ago, that was the first time I came across to the so-called IMU or the medical device. I was the person that I am still a person that demands high accuracy. I told my colleagues, no, that's not accurate. Was it accurate? No. Even today, is it accurate enough? No, not yet. But to the general public health, close enough for general violence, safe enough. However, in the athletic competition or the competitive athletes, that need to be very, very precise. That's why we need to create a database for that individual. So that individual, I have a track line of, say, 5 years ago, all the way to today. What had happened in the same parameters or same metrics during the process of training and the personal growth and the experience goes, then we will know exactly what happened to that individual so that we come with the precise information to that individual. So it's different. Even with the database, we separate two systems. It's so-called one is so-called public cloud, the other was called private cloud. Private cloud is just for our athletes. That's closed. No one else can approach those information. It's a very closed system. It's so-called national security. But that's very closely monitored and closely secured in our own campus, in our shop. But in the public one, we share the information. We might share even those systems. I think that the whole calculation or the whole system can be used, can be more mature next year. And I have talked to a couple of our insurance companies. They would like to adopt a system for their insurance because they need it. As long as their insurance can exercise regularly and they can prove that I'm as an insurer. I exercise as I see, and then all the calculations, all the training role, the exercise role can be recorded. They can be sure that my health status is somehow maintained at a level where they can cut down my insurance premium. That's what I like to do because I don't want to spend that much money for insurance. The insurance company, on the other hand, does not like to spend more money for the insurance claim. If I'm visiting the hospital, then you pay for my medical. So it's a win-win situation. And I've talked to two of our major insurance companies. They're willing to adopt our system, but we need to come up with more mature, closely workable systems. And then within that platform, there's no way I can do that. Okay? So that's the parameter we talk about. Okay? And we can also create a hard enroll different system or different area of competition. You can find it as your whole. With your connection to our platform, I can calculate your power output, your distance power. Okay? If you want, you can connect with your friends somewhere else. You don't have to compete at the same time. You can compete your friend in Africa with different time zones. But we can select a set programs, set resistance programs, then we can calculate how much distance you cover, how fast you finish the whole road. And then create another system of competition without physically being there together. This technology can help us to create a new business form or competition form. So technology is everywhere, and we just need to think about it. I cannot believe I can talk that much so far today. Although I still have a lot to go. But still, that's beyond my imagination because the sky is the limit when you think about the application of technology in sports science. I have lots of things to do. Oh, this is the area where we can, we are centralized at least from the matter to the fundamentals. Like I said, the velocity-based training is one of the major areas we try to develop. I have asked our engineer to our station to locate to set up a system where the camera can track the movement of the object. There is the system already that you have the so-called general way, the linear lines connect with the ground and the bottom and level so that you can track the speed of the movement. But coaches don't like that. Athletes don't like that. In the actual training they do not have any attachments there. So we use video recognition to calculate the speed of the movements. Normally, I ask my engineer and all my team to come up with, we can recognize the movement, the speed of the movement, and calculate the ratio of velocity loss. For those of you who knows the strength training rate, that's the recommended speed of movement speed to the purpose of your training. Depending on the purpose of our training, we calculate the movement speed during the training. We can give coaches to select what they want. We can give them a red light if the movement velocity is slower than what we expected. We can come up with the light and say, coaches, you want to change the weight. Or do you want to cut down the number of repetitions? Okay? But again, we are still developing this. The skill has been, the technique has been developed, the program has been written. We do not have enough information to come and say, yes, this is working, this is valid. Not there yet, this is what we're trying to work on. Okay? And one thing is the power of algorithm. We needed edge computing in our training, in our waiting. Really, a computer may not have enough power, so that the calculation may be too long and waiting too long because we have no patience for that. So we need to set up a system, and that is very, very expensive. Okay? And training mining trainings, we need to know the route faster. So there's so many ways to calculate this, and this is one thing. See where you have numbers? Moving too slow. Say what you want. But without the help of technology, there is no way we visually by our bare eye to recognize how fast the barbell moves. No way. But we need to depend on technology to help us. And also, fatigue monitoring is one thing. We need to come up with a system where from the blood sample, from the HIV, from the neuromuscular centers of recording with the athletes, we can somehow know the status of that individual. This is an example of one of our risks, a female risk was, and that is before we intervene anything. It's just recording. Because when we need to record, we need to know what happened first before we can come up with some recommendations to the coaches. That's the law, but there's a vertical jump. This is a CMJ jump for one athlete. And this is a day, however, doing those, and the training intensity, the training volume during this time, quite high. So the performance of the CMJ is not there. Because somehow the coaches reduce the training or the tapering, so that during this period of competition, that actually we maintain a decent level of condition. But that is not that person's best form, because the tapering period is not enough. After the freaking company match over, the athlete had time to rest. See what happened? There is usual performance of further movement of jumping goes up. That tells us something. And we went next to coach. He say, maybe we need to do something else next time to keep it. Because we might have this time that year. Okay? Same thing, another risk. The person had a pinched nerve in the neck. So during that time, we use this to monitor the progress of the injury. The strength was after the injury is almost down. We can rehab it by deep stress. Okay? So we know when the person recovers to the normal form, that person can go back to training. This is one of the ways that we try to monitor our injured athletes when they can return. Because return to training after injury is one of the most difficult challenges to those sports medicine practitioners. Return to a way, I can guarantee you can re-injure again. Okay? And that is this is the theory. People in this room all understand this chart here. Training and normal performance. That is theory. But what actually happened to your athletes? If you do not record, if you do not monitor the training goal, if you do not monitor the physiological characteristics of that individual, how do you know that person is in the rising form or is in a descending form? mostly by experience. But by combination of pulling all different systems into the integrated information presentation, we better understand what happened to the athletes. Okay? This just this is another area of our efforts. We have two systems. We are currently in our institute, we have a system, an LPS system, where we can track an individual's moving speed and also jump height intensity. So we are using this to our volleyball team. I can, there's a tiger in that person. I can record, say, 100 jump during training. So each jump I can calculate all the score generation. Toward the end of the training, I can also look at the last 1/3 or 1/4 of the training intensity. Can that athlete or player maintain the same level of jumping ability through the first quarter of the training session? Now, toward the end of the training session, if the person cannot generate enough power during the fight, then we need to come up with some strategy to improve maybe their power, maybe to cut down the struggles of the training time. There's a tendency here in Taiwan for our coaches, they are afraid of not enough training. So I have to spend 3 hours on the court. Competition is not nice. The number of jumps per competition may need to be closely calculated and also closely added into the training programs so that they can match. During the competition, if you just say 80 centimeters for 20 times, that's enough for competition. And yet, you train 100 times jumping for 40 centimeters. The person can be tired, but not helping the competition. And how do you know that person is jumping at the podium when you want? Without knowing this information, it's awfully difficult. So, with this business system, we're also developing, and it's not a secret. By the end of this year, will have an outdoor system where you can use ultra wideband to train. Along the same time, we have also monitored simultaneously monitoring the heart rate of the individual. Not only the distance, knowing the speed of running, change of directions, all that. So we're using soccer or football as the sport for our first program. Hopefully, we can come up with a much cheaper system for our teams, because I believe I'm about halfway through. So you understand, we try to create a system where we can know more, understand more detail of what happened in the training. This is what. Okay. This I mentioned this. We need to compare between training, scrimmage, and competition. Without that, without this system, it's difficult. And this is what I talk about, the application of jump low performance. Okay? We need to calculate the deceleration phase because we have come up with, we know this, the deceleration phase, the quality of deceleration phase heavily influence the output of the jump. Okay? HWR is not in a uniform to you. But without accurately record the training load, there's no way that you can calculate accurately ACWR. Without knowing this, you may know that nothing may be in a danger form of getting injured. And that ACWR is also individualized. Some people may have different resistance to that racial learning. By knowing individual file, I will have much better confidence in knowing that that person is in a proper way of training without overloading that person too much. The 5G environment is also one of the areas where we try to create in our own training center. That is another way of we try to help our long-term athletes. Last week, the Asian Islamic competition, he won silver. He jumped 8.2 meters. His approach is the most important aspect of launching. We have come up with a system where we can calculate each step, the length of each step, the speed, we would like to have that person actually to step on the board without falling. The step of the two or three steps right before the takeoff become critical. Our engineer has come up with the system already. We'll wait for the runway to be repaired so that we can already install a system. So we can provide better information for the athletes and coaches during training. Okay? And this is before we're going to talk about karate. When I went to their training, I saw the team competition, the practice. I went up to the coach and said, what are you looking for? What are the referee or judges are looking for when they were doing the competition? They said, oh, when they turn, if they turn simultaneously, when they go up, get the hand up, if the arm up at the same level, the same degree, I said, whoa. So again, I call my engineers, come on. And take a look, say what the coach wants to see. So we come up with a system again. I think at the end of this month, the program, the whole system can be set up in our training area. So coaches can know when the coach, if they coach want to see and slow down, the whole training can be touched. So coach can move fast and slow and instead on the step of training is a big screen. So athletes can know what happened or whatever they have made during the movement. Okay? I have a video of this.
有声音吗，老师？
A line is drawn here. That's required by a coach. The coach says, I must see that I understand levels, so create alignment. And then the coach says, I like to think if the hands I understand level, so we enlarge the area. Then coach, they are not at the same level. And we still have to the athletes so that they can correct right away. Okay? So, this is a demonstration of how the system can help us. We found the help from the AI or the visual recognition technique. We can now give the coaches and athletes instant feedback. Next. Right. I was going to talk about this program, but yet due to time limits, I'm going to stop here. This is a program where our institute, along with the Taiwan, National Taiwan Normal University, we would like them the sport technology certification program to coaches, students in the individual in technology, individual in sports science. We would like to teach different skills in a concentrate form. We teach image-based skill, we teach IMU-based skill, we teach movement training technique, we also teach how to use sports platform. So that knowing those skills and knowing how they can be applied to your area of practice is the goal of training those individuals. And once we have more information, we'll make an announcement. I'll welcome people to participate in this program. I think it's very, very much useful for further use. Okay, I'm done here, and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Professor Huang to provide very valuable information regarding how to apply technology in the sports science. And he provided many examples and valuable information. Thank you very much. And due to the time limited, we can open for one question. Any questions for Professor Huang? No? Okay, please.
So I'm the faculty member in Space Hospital. So thank you very much for your wonderful talk. I'm a faculty member in physical therapy, so I'm very interested in how physiological makeup, collecting, healing, fighting is applied to health health. And in your job, you mentioned that highlights collecting physiological data during the cycling line, including total interest and other metrics. And I'm curious why was cycling being chosen as a sport to develop the public formula? Is there a specific reason to select fighting as a public sport? Thank you.
The reason is we have a very, very good company called Giants. They have a parameter of really building the bike. No one said individual that participants would like to enter their basic demographic information, height and weight, and age, and they can use their talents to measure the heart rate. We have a heart rate, we have a parameter, we can come up with that algorithm. We need to have the algorithm first. So in this project at the sports data platform project, we are going to install maybe 20 bikes, and maybe, I don't know where, we are still talking. We'd like to install a number of bikes to our so-called sports center. And we will encourage the participants in the sports center to give us those information. So my goal is to collect at least 500 individual information so that we can have a good calculation. Once we have a calculation, my idea or my dream is everybody can do that without the PowerPoint. So long as you give me your height, weight, gender, age, and also heart rate, I can lead you with that. I can lead you to an investment where you are into the training or exercise investing where you like you to have. Okay? Thank you for your questions.
Okay, due to the time limit, I think some of you still have the questions for Professor Huang, and we have some time for you to discuss with Professor Huang. Let's finish this keynote speech. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.